For many, the finish line represents a balance of accomplishment and relief. But a propensity to rest and struggle breeds an appetite for defeat. For the champion sees the finish line as a prosaic of conclusion, as the loser sees opportunity, and the winner as collusion. Hello, America. I'm DiBrava, and today I am interviewing Nate the Great, a man who has overcome childhood trauma, a broken neck, and a broken back to lose over 313 pounds. Sounds impossible, right? Well, let's dive in. Okay, so we are here with the one and only Nate the Great. Now, Nate, you have done what most people cannot even imagine, okay? It's unthinkable what you have done. You have lost over 300 pounds. I mean, that is literally the weight of 2 grown men. 300 pounds. First of all, where do we even start? I mean, this is unbelievable. Let me ask you this. What is the first thing that happened in your life to make you start this change?
Well, the change to losing all the weight essentially was me breaking my neck and upper back, and then 9 months later my lower back, and I had to lose the weight to be able to get a good MRI of my back to even see what was going on, because even though they had a machine that could hold me, they couldn't get an MRI of me because I had so much fat that they couldn't really tell the full extent of what was going on. So it was out of pure necessity. It was like, okay, you're either going to die soon or you need to lose this weight and figure out what's going on.
Wow.
And then once you figure out what's going on, move on from there.
So hold on a second.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that you had a broken back and neck and it went untreated?
Yeah. So January 2018.
What kind of pain were you in? That's insane.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been through a lot of pain in life. I have a high pain tolerance. So
Clearly.
It felt like a pulled muscle or like kidney stones or something. So, I'm just taking Advil and Tylenol and drinking, doing whatever to numb the pain when I needed to numb it. And
wow.
you don't go to the hospital, especially when you don't have insurance.
That's this medical system. That is horrible.
Yeah.
So you didn't have insurance. You have a broken neck, broken back. You're bearing with pain. I mean, first of all, hold on. Let's just paint a picture for people, okay? Now, you're approaching 500 pounds at this point, right?
Yeah, I was 420 that January. And then by September, when my lower back completely went out, I was about 490 pounds. And then after that, they put me on a bunch of medicines and stuff because I finally went to the hospital and they're like, oh, you got everything bad. And so they put me on a bunch of medicines. And so I'm sitting there eating, not getting up and moving because I'm in pain. They're not putting me on pain medicine. It took them 6 months to put me on any pain medicine. So I have no energy
Hold on. You had a broken neck and a broken back, and it took 6 months for them to put you on pain meds?
Yeah, through all the red tape, because I'm on state health insurance. And so the first place I went to, they signed me up for state health care, and the doctor I was seeing, she didn't believe that I had any back issues going on. She thought I was just a pill chaser. She sent me to get x-rays. The x-ray gal didn't take the x-rays right, and so it didn't show the injuries that I had properly. And so they both misread the x-ray. And so I'm arguing with them to give me like Tylenol 3 with codeine or Tramadol or something. She didn't want to give me anything.
So the
And
doctors are
so,
thinking that you're coming in here making up excuses to get pills.
yeah,
That's what you mean when
yeah,
you say pill chaser. And
yeah.
they're misreading and misdiagnosing you. Now, okay, what is there any part of you being so overweight in the fact that they couldn't diagnose you, or were they just being lazy at their jobs? If a patient is telling you like something is severely wrong and they're just,
Yeah,
pushing you out the door.
yeah, no, it was, I don't know. I think she just had something against me for some reason. I don't know why. But I ended up going to like tribal health, and they're like, oh, we're not trying to put people on opiates anymore. And so I'm at my wits' end because I'm staring at my 45 every day, just like I'm hurting so bad and I want the pain to end. Like,
Oh my
how do
God.
you get through that? And so my mom, seeing me just not doing good. And so she's like, all right, we're going to this hospital over here. And so we get in there. And before the doctor even sees me, he looks at the x rays they took at the other hospital because they're connected.
Right.
He's a doctor of oncology. He comes in, he's like, how long has your spine been fractured? And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like, like this is how long I've been in pain, but nobody's told me that anything's wrong with my back up until this point. I've been told that I've been lying. He's like, no, we need to get you back and get X-rays done now because we might need to do emergency surgery.
Wow, Nate.
So they take the X-rays. They're like, okay, we don't need to do surgery. Luckily, we got a pain clinic opening up in this building in like the next week or whatever. Get signed up for an appointment through them because the other place they were going to try to send me was taking 6 months to get into to even get your initial appointment. And
Wow.
so, and then, yeah, once you get your initial appointment, then you got to go through a million tests to make sure you're not lying and that you actually need what you need. Because I think it was Bellevue against, the company that made oxycodone.
Ah, the
What is
Sackler
it?
family. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, there was that lawsuit, and so that made Inslee get a wild hair up his ass and made regulations so much harder.
I
So
see.
doctors are super restricted on being able to give out
Right.
opiates now,
So
and like I had to fight tooth and nail to get what I got.
so let's we totally get that. Now, here's the thing. You're at 500 pounds basically. You're 490 pounds, right?
Yeah,
You have a broken back, a broken neck. Okay, you're fighting for your life. Okay, at what point do you make a decision in your head to say, you know what? If I don't lose this weight, I'm going to die. What
yeah.
what what point made you say, I really have to take back control of my life, my body?
Well, I did get up and get moving because the doctors are telling me, okay, you need to lose weight. We're going to try to get you signed up for weight loss surgery, but they're going to require you to lose X amount of weight. So you need to get up and moving and this, that, and the other. And like, I knew I was on my deathbed. Like, I was
Yeah.
clammy, I was pale. I developed asthma. I had all these health problems. I was borderline diabetic. They didn't put me on any diabetes medication, but he was about to. And like I had all this stuff going on. So I knew I had to get up and moving. And it was slow, small steps at a time, just walk in the driveway at first because all I could do is walk down to the end of the driveway. My back and neck would start spasming out. I would have to stand there with my walking stick for a few minutes and
Wow.
then walk the other driveway the rest of the way back and then climb back into bed and sit there and just have my whole body, wrecked. And so it was just a matter of getting a little bit further each time. And like the real breaking moment for me
Mm-hmm.
was I finally built up enough gumption and enough courage to be able to leave the driveway and walk down the road a little bit.
Wow. Wow.
And I get down to a certain point, and like the reason why I'm scared to leave the driveway is because my mom is disabled, my dad's hip is bad, I'm couch surfing, like I'm technically homeless.
Right.
And so like, it's they can't come and pick me up. And like, even if they came to pick me up in a vehicle, they can't pick me up off the ground. Like,
Right.
they're gonna have to call, 911 or
Right.
someone to come even just pick me up. And my core was so weak that it felt like, two buttered plates just sliding around on each other with
Wow.
my disc slipping.
Wow.
And so it was scary for me because once my disc popped a certain way, my nerves in my legs kind of give out, and it's hard for me to stand up and walk because it feels like I'm walking on, razor blades and stuff,
Wow.
because it triggers plantar fasciitis in my feet. And
This is
so,
insane. Okay. First of all,
yeah,
I don't even know how somebody can function with a broken back and have to even
yeah,
like lose weight like it just to get treatment. Now, hold on. Now, look, you have been through hell and back. Now, obviously we've had conversations, right? I don't even
yeah,
know where to begin. Okay. I don't even know how you process everything that you've been through. And I know that we had a conversation and, you didn't want to put your parents in a bad light. And I totally respect that. But I mean, at what point, okay, with everything that you've been through as a kid, aren't you a little angry?
I've been angry a long time, and I've been working as hard as I can to let go of that anger and resentment. And
So here's the thing.
yeah,
As a child, okay, and you've been through some extremely traumatic circumstances in your family life, which has to have something to do with you ending up at 500 pounds. You don't just wake up one day and say, oh my gosh, I'm 500 pounds. I need to make a choice to lose 300. I mean, it's a process to get there.
yeah.
How did this start? What triggered you as a child to start using food as a form of comfort for you being hurt? Talk to me about your family.
Yeah, no. So I was born into a family, family of four. Once I was born, my sister's 5.5 years my senior, and of course my parents. And born into a Nazarene Christian family. They were youth group leaders in the church, and I was active as a kid. Running and jumping all over the place and making my parents scared because I'd climb on top of the monkey bars and run across them like it was a balance beam, and got into hockey and soccer and all all the different kind of sports. And so
Now,
I was real active as a kid.
you were an
And
athlete,
my yeah,
basically.
yeah,
How
yeah.
old were you when you started doing sports?
I mean, as young as I can remember,
Yeah.
I was playing t-ball and got,
Yeah.
playing soccer and all. Yeah, as
I
young
mean,
as I can remember, I was doing something with sports.
and your sister was into sports. I mean, first of all, when you describe your family, which is the craziest part to me, when you describe your family, I mean, it sounds like the picture perfect family. I mean, your parents are, you're all in the church. Your parents are youth leaders. Your sister's 5.5 years older than you. She should be a mentor for you. You're the younger brother that came along. You're into sports. Your sister's playing sports, but you and I have talked, and let's talk about the relationship with your dad.
Yeah,
Now, your sister was much closer to your father than you, and you were closer to your
yeah.
mother. Now, as a child, watching your dad, coach your sister's, sports teams and different things, did it make you feel as a boy, boys yearn for close relationships with their fathers, that's Fathers guide
Yeah, I
sons.
mean,
Did it make you feel left out? Did it?
I mean, I didn't really understand it much of the time. Like, my parents made sure that I was never like alone or whatever. Like, I was never without.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time with my dad's half brother, like, but that's more of a best friend buddy relationship. That's not
Right.
your father son relationship. But, you know, 80s, early 90s, people aren't really aware of how powerful the dynamics really are of the nuclear family and
Uh-huh.
how important they are. And so, you know, they thought everything was fine. Everybody thought everything was fine. I didn't really understand that I was lacking like a mentor, father son connection relationship with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, my dad coached my sister's, softball team, select ball. So we were always all over, the states and whatnot. Not far East Coast, but like, Washington, Oregon, type stuff.
Yep.
So we would go and be busy with that, but I didn't have a whole lot of like one-on-one alone time with dad. Like, it was either the whole family's involved or my sister was there at least. Like, yeah, my sister was a daddy's girl, and I was more, of course, at that point, a mama's boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a lot of nurturing and empathy and, those kind of qualities from her because she was also babysitting for people during the day
Yep.
from the church. And
Yep.
so, plus I had baby cousins and stuff. So I've always got, did well with young kids and babies and stuff. And I've always wanted to be a dad. And, I've always wanted that nuclear picturesque,
Mm-hmm.
perfect family.
Yeah.
So.
Now, your dad, to me, he definitely has a role in your, obviously, some of the trauma. Now, one of the things that we talked about is when you were very young, I think you said 3rd grade, your father was arrested. Now, that's something very difficult for a 3rd grader to process to begin with. But what is going through your mind as a child, because that's what you are in 3rd grade, watching your father get arrested? And how did all that come about?
Yeah, so my sister ended up getting either befriended or friended this girl on our team. And this girl, they were on like a U15 or U16 team. I think it was U16 once everything happened. But like, he always coached their teams, and there was arguments going on for years. So basically, once I got into school full time in 1st grade, my mom was like, "Oh, I want to go back to work and have a job during school hours, so that way I can bring more money into the family, go on better trips, blah blah blah." And so she talked with my dad and sister about it and was like, "Hey, I'm going to need you guys to step up and help with chores around the house and whatnot because I'm going to be working. I'm not going to be able to do everything myself." And they're like, "Oh, that's okay." Like, they're just thinking of the positives of everything, not really thinking of having to contribute. And so they're busy with their sports stuff. She's working, stuff's not really getting done around the house. I'm younger, I'm helping out as much as I can, but there's only so much I can do.
And your dad has kind of got to be getting neglected a bit. It's obviously different if your wife is home doing all these things and then all of a sudden takes a job. So now there's a missing component there as well, right?
Yeah, there's definitely, a divisive component there. And then, so fast forward to the, around 2nd, 3rd grade time, her friend's mom her friend's friend, whatever, mom wanted my dad ultimately.
You're talking about in like a sexual way?
Yeah, she wanted my dad to divorce my mom, and she wanted, my dad to be her new husband, whatever.
So she was chasing your father?
She was chasing my dad.
Okay, and this is your sister's friend? mother.
My sister's friend's mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is this
And
also
then,
on the team that your dad was coaching?
yeah. So,
Okay.
and her mom decided, hey, if I can't have my dad, then I'm going to sick my daughter on him so he can have my daughter at least. And
Wow.
my sister got involved with this plan.
Your sister
And
got
so,
involved with the plan of separating your mother and your father?
yeah.
So is there so what's going on with your sister and your mother? Is the relationship bad?
It's bad. Well,
It has to
she, of
be.
course, being a daddy's girl, is seeing my dad and my mom fighting a lot because stuff isn't getting done around the
Yep.
house. And her friend's mom and her friend are buttering them up and coming up with reasons like, oh, my toilet needs fixed, or my dishwasher needs fixed, or
Wow.
this or that, because there's no man in the house, right? And so my dad's getting all this buttered up attention over there, and he's fighting with my mom
Yep. And
at
that's a
home. So
single
he's
mother
spending more
household,
time over there. Yeah.
right? Your friend, the girl, it's just her and her mother. There's no
Yeah.
father in that house.
Well, she had a brother too, I think.
Okay.
But there's no male, no adult male. No.
Wow. Now, is this about the time where you started to drink as well? Now, you had told me that you started drinking.
No.
Are you younger here? How old are you when this happens?
My dad got arrested when I was
were in
around third grade. Yeah. That stuff happened like 6th, 7th grade around that time. I was like 12, 13.
So this is leading up to that. So what happened when your father got arrested?
Yeah. So basically, they were stalking us from church to church that we would go to.
Is this after the arrest?
No, this is before the arrest.
Before the arrest.
I'll tell it leading up to the arrest.
Mm-hmm.
So they're stalking us to each church, and the last church we were at before he got arrested, he stood up in front of the congregation and he was like, I haven't been the father and husband that I need to be for my family. And
Wow.
he just came fully clean and was just like, I need to do better, just full accountability, right?
Wow.
And so, that Monday, of course, that woman and her daughter are there. So, of course, they're enraged. And that night or whatever, the mom basically was like, sick them.
So she called the cops?
Well, yeah, it was the next day or whatever.
Got it.
The daughter made a move on my dad. My dad didn't shut it down immediately. He shut it down quick, but he didn't shut it down immediately.
Yeah.
And once he was like, no, whatever, that made the daughter upset, and of course the mother upset, and gave them the ammo they needed to go to the court and be like, oh, this happened. And so of course Washington state laws say my dad had to get arrested, and he had to go through a program, not like a full on sexual assault person program, but there was a program he needed to go through, and part of that was he had to do a bunch of lie detector tests with a psychiatrist or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed every single one of them with flying colors, and the psychiatrist was like, no, you got caught in a bad situation, you could have handled it better. These are the things you could have done to handle it better, to help him understand how to handle a situation like that, because he didn't get guidance, growing up. His mother was extremely abusive to him growing up.
And she was also abusive to you at some point. I mean, we're going to get to that. Now, here's the thing. This is extremely traumatic. So you're in the 3rd grade, regardless of what your father had done. I mean, he was proven to have not really done anything, right? But that being said, in the 3rd grade as a young child, okay, to watch your father get arrested, be accused of this stuff, see the turmoil in your house, your sister, your mother isn't there all the time now, and she was the one that was nurturing you and giving you all the attention. Your father is closer with the sister. This mother and daughter come in, they divide and conquer. They have your father arrested. This is extremely traumatic. At this point, were you starting to use food as a form of comfort here? Because I can't even imagine being in the third grade, and
it was
that's a difficult
it was
time
right
for a
around.
child. Like even the kids around you, what are they saying? Are they teasing you? I mean, what are you dealing with? Kids can be awfully cruel, even at a young age.
Yeah, no, I went to 3 different schools in third grade. Like the first one I was
in
at.
third grade? 3 different schools in 1 year. Wow.
Because so my dad got arrested when I was in third grade,
Right.
and we had basically the place we were living at. The guy was saying, "Hey, I need to sell this place. I'm giving you guys first dibs on it if you want to buy it." My parents were wanting a place to have horses and stuff because they both grew up with horses.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided they were going to buy my dad's mom, so my grandma, if you want to call her that, my dad's mom's place from her because she had acreage and stuff. So that's why we end up moving in with hers, because we were eventually going to be buying that place, I found out.
So now, since you're going down this path, okay, now your grandmother, she abused your father. She abused you. Okay. Your parents are at this point, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're trying to make amends now after all of this went down, right? This is after the fact.
Well,
when they're trying to buy this property.
We move into her place while they're still fighting.
Okay. But they're trying to make amends.
Stuff out. Yeah,
is this after the arrest? Amends. Right.
No, this is before the arrest.
This is before the arrest.
This is before
so you were
the
already
arrest.
in that house.
Yeah, so they were fighting a lot. We move in there. They're fighting a lot. I'm basically ignored. But anything the TV went from 0 to 100, and if I got it anywhere above 30, she would come out and smack my head, or
is this your grandmother?
Smack my grandmother.
Okay,
yeah.
so hold on.
Smack my.
So you're living with your mother, your father, and your grandmother at this point.
Yeah,
she's also living there.
My dad, my mom, my sister, and grandma's there.
Okay, and this is before the arrest. Okay, so you're already dealing with abuse. So before your father even got arrested and all that trauma happened, you're already dealing with your grandmother, who's abusive to your father, doesn't like your mother, and is abusive to you. Now, your grandmother is
I'm
watching.
Not taking it as abuse,
Right, but because you don't know any better yet.
Yeah.
You're a child. So, but your grandmother, talk to me about your grandmother, because, okay, at what point do you not blame your parents for putting you in that situation? Like, some of the things that we've discussed that your grandmother has done to you is just beyond unacceptable. It's just straight up abuse.
Yeah, no, I mean, my parents were kids growing up too. My dad didn't have that nurturing father and mother in the house, and he didn't have guidance in how to behave properly, or he didn't have a mentor to help him through his stuff. So there's still some stuff that he hasn't fully figured out
even today. But, so your father, let's fast forward a bit. So your father was abused by your grandmother. Your parents put you in a situation where they buy this property. Your grandmother's living there still because they're buying it from her.
Well, they're not thinking that she's going to be abusive because she's portraying. No, not at all.
I see.
And she utilized that as a mental tactic because she already knew I'm stressed out, vulnerable because my parents are fighting, and I'm not trying to hear their fighting and arguing and stuff. And my uncle would come and save me from the house a bunch and take me, to spend the night at his place, whatnot.
Was your grandmother also abusive to your uncle growing up?
I'm assuming so. anytime anything happens, he has two half brothers and a half sister.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they did something, he got the punishment for it.
Wow. So she
And
took everything
so
out on
he
your
ends up
dad.
leaving at like 16 and eventually going into the Air Force. And so I don't know what happened with them afterwards. I'm assuming they had some indication of what she was like, because at least one of my uncles, because he would come and save me all the time.
It,
Like when I really needed it, like he would just be there. Like he would show up.
it makes
And
sense. Now, at
yeah.
this point, at this stage, you're very young. Are you overweight? Are you overweight as a child?
No, so once my dad got arrested, my mom got scared. She didn't want CPS to come and take us. And
Mm-hmm.
so she sent us to live with my grandma down in Vegas, and we finished the school year down there. And so I'm down in Vegas living with my grandma, and there's stacks of soda, there's Hot Pockets, there's 5-gallon buckets of ice cream, and I'm just a kid in Las Vegas. All my older cousins are either at school or
Mm-hmm.
at work or whatever. My younger cousins are babies, and I'm not trying to watch all the baby shows. And
So
so
your
I'm
grandmother
spending a
was
lot.
kind of providing all of this food, not teaching you, look, we don't eat ice cream every day. We don't, so she kind
Well,
of,
I mean, grandmas just want to feed you. Like
right.
from old school grandmas, depression era
Yeah.
grandmas, like they want to make sure they're providing. So
Yeah.
I don't fault her. I did everything to myself. Yes, there was outside influences that may have affected me going certain routes, but ultimately, I did everything to myself. I can't put that blame on anybody.
But even as a
Like,
child, so I want to know when you started to become overweight. Was it while you were still a child? Because,
yeah,
see,
well, yeah. When my mom sent me down, she says she sent me down to Vegas in Slims, and I came back in Huskies.
yeah.
So
So how
that's
can that be
when
your fault? How can you make excuses for you're a child? You don't know any better. You're eating what's in front of you. You're eating what's provided. I mean, you may know like, oh, maybe I don't feel right, but it's the responsibility of the adults to, not send a child down a bad path, with food.
yeah. Well, and it's a tough thing though, because when kids are going through trauma,
Right.
you're not wanting to be overbearing and over controlling. You're
Yep.
trying to placate to them and like make them feel better. So
Yep.
I can't.
Food is comfort.
I can't. Yeah, food is comfort.
Food is
So I
comfort.
can't fault it, because they knew I was going through something. They didn't know the full extent of what I was going through, but they knew I was going through something.
Right.
And
Now, was
so,
there abuse happening there?
not down in Vegas. No,
Okay.
my grandma down in Vegas is a saint. Like,
Okay. This is a
she's
different
the
grandmother.
greatest woman ever. Yeah,
This is
my
a different
grandma.
grandmother. This is
She's
not
the
your.
one. She's the one I actually call grandma.
I
Like,
see. Okay.
she's the one that deserves it.
There you go. Okay. Now, let's fast forward. You leave Vegas and where do you go?
Well, I go back.
Your parents?
We're living at the same house still.
Yep.
So like my dad couldn't live with us for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And so like third grade to fifth grade, it's me, my mom, and my sister living, in her house. And not only were my sister and those people trying to get my parents divorced, but they were messing with like Ouija boards and tarot cards and doing seances and stuff, trying to
Wow.
get my parents broken up and my dad to fall in love with his daughter. And
Wow.
his mother was telling him, I want you to leave your wife and your kids and come back to this house. I'll provide for you, but you're not allowed to give them a red cent to provide for them at all.
Your own
Cut them off.
grandmother? was telling her son, your father, to leave your mother, leave the kids.
She's a sociopath. Like
Wow.
she came from Texas, big time oil money, got pregnant, got kicked out of the house or whatever, but was still getting provided for. Ended up in Alaska, got pregnant with my dad's dad, Eskimo up there.
I see.
And then came down to Washington with my dad and then married, his stepdad.
And when did she start being abusive to you?
That was like, it started slowly happening when we first moved in.
Yeah.
Like flicking of the ear, smacking of the head, like she'd grab your neck and
wow,
real tight to make you scrunch up and stuff, hitting those pressure points. And just like anything that set her off, like you left, accidentally left a wrapper on the counter or, any little thing that, and it wasn't even stuff that I would do. It would just be stuff that would be out of place and I would get the blame for it because I was there and nobody else was. Yeah. And so that puts you into that fight or flight mode brain because you're just looking out and trying to read people's emotions and understand like everything, all the different subtle nuances, just to know if you need to be scared and find somewhere to hide or if it's okay to continue watching TV.
It's a terrible way to be growing up, to live. So let me ask you something. Now, at one point you were homeless, your mom and your sister, you were bouncing from place to place.
Yeah.
Was it because you left this situation that you became homeless to get out of the house with the grandmother?
Out.
So your grandmother kicked you out.
Yeah. So basically what happened, like after my dad got arrested and it was just in the house, the abuse got worse. And, that's where she started like cupping, smacking my ears to give that concussive equilibrium, messed up. She'd shove me into stuff. And so in fourth grade, I started shaving my head. Like I still shave my head to this day.
Right.
I used to buzz cut it.
It looks good on you.
I used to buzz cut it, because my mom wouldn't allow me to shut it or shave it past a certain point. But, if I have my hair shortened, it can't be used as a weapon against me and any bruising will show up.
That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Let me ask you something. This is an important question. Was there ever a moment in time as a child, as a tween, that you actually felt safe? Ever?
Before the arguing started and everything started happening, I felt safe, happy, normal childhood.
Got it.
And sixth grade, when we ended up at the place where we were able to move into, and I spent, sixth grade through 12th grade at, I felt safe there, essentially. There was times where I didn't, but,
So, okay. There's a lot of wounds here. Okay. There's no doubt that all of these experiences from your childhood led to you being 500 pounds.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Between your grandmother, the situation with your mom, going to work, which started turmoil. I mean, it's just, it's like one thing after the next. It's a lot for a child to endure. I mean, you were telling me that, by the time you were 12, you were already drinking. I mean, that's a lot.
It's because my cousins could tell that something was going on with me, and they're just like, hey, we need to take you partying with us because
at 12,
you need to let loose.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's get to the point where you're starting, you went away to Vegas, you came back a little bit, your mother was like, you've gained some weight, and slowly over time.
Came back in fourth grade, and then by fifth grade, we got kicked out because basically what happened was she got mad at me for something, shoved me into the door, and my head slammed into the doorknob. And I used to get really bad migraines as a kid anyways, but that triggered the worst migraine. And apparently I was still inconsolable by the time my mom got home. She couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, she's at this point, she's been in a car accident. So her back is now broken. And she's on like 4 different antidepressants, plus overly medicated on pain medicine, because this is back during the time when they did over medicate people.
Right.
And so she's trying to keep it together, like going to work, working extra hours, trying to be able to make sure she's still bringing money to support me and my sister. And my sister's in FFA and school sports and stuff that keep her out of the house. So I'm left alone in the house with this woman.
So
And
a lot of traumatic stuff here between all of this. I mean, it started off great, your childhood, and it just turned into an absolute disaster. Everyone's separated. There's all kinds of trauma, unfortunate accidents. Your mother, your grandmother's kicking you out. You're homeless. You're bouncing around. Your mother's trying to find answers. She's alone, getting no support. Everybody's divided and conquered. Okay. Now, you get to over 500 pounds, right? Was your highest weight over
my
530?
highest weight on my scale in my bathroom was 530 pounds.
530. So you're 530 pounds. When you're at the point where you're 530 pounds, what does your day look like? Are you stuck in bed? Are you bedridden? What is it like? Because we can clearly kind of see how it happened, okay? Yeah. What is it like to get to 530 pounds? How do you function daily?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was spending most of the time sitting down. Like, I ended up getting a chair that had like the recliner. It was like a medical chair that had the recliner stand assist or whatever to be able to get up and down.
Yeah.
I had to get a bidet because I couldn't get around to clean myself, And taking a shower was a struggle. Like, but people say that COVID was a tough time for them. They were shut in their house. They weren't able to go out and hang out and live their life and do whatever.
That was basically life for you.
I was shut down in 2018.
Wow.
And I've still been jumping through the hoops and all the red tape, to get all the healthcare and stuff that I need. Like, I just had a meeting. I got signed up, finally got put on temporary disability because they were finally able to get the MRIs and stuff of my back once I lost all the weight to prove that I need disability. So then they finally put me on temporary disability, and I just had the meeting to get applying for, permanent disability or whatever through the state.
To get there, you've been through hell and back.
These motions to keep the state insurance and all that.
So beyond the system being broken, all right, just you mentally, physically, okay, what kind of thoughts are you having when you're to the point where you're 530 pounds and you need a chair to assist you just to stand up? You need a bidet just to properly clean yourself. I mean, you can't go anywhere. You're basically bedridden. I mean, when does it come across what is happening with you mentally? Are you thinking, I'm going to die? Are you accepting the fact that you're going to die? Or are you just like waiting to die? What does that feel like?
I was just on the brink. Like, I could feel myself dying daily. Right. Like, I was on a BiPAP machine because I would stop breathing so often through it. Then I stopped breathing over 50 times or something like that in like a span of an hour or something like that. And so they're like, yeah, you need a BiPAP machine. And so, they're just putting me on all these medicines. And I'm just like, I've been rejected. Like, she would, as she's abusing me, she would tell me, you're just a fat little boy and nobody's ever going to love you.
Wow. This is your grandmother?
And so that's reverberated in my head my entire life. Like, I'm still living with ugly duckling syndrome. Like, it's, I don't know. Like, you can only be told that so many times before it starts to stick,
So we skipped, I want people to understand, like, as a young adult, okay, first of all, because we're talking about 2018, right? So, but there's a lot of years. As a young adult, how do you get to the point where you're 530 pounds? Is it just a slow thing where you just keep eating your problems away? How do you get to that point? And is nobody around you in your family, your mother, anybody saying, listen, you're getting out of control. This is dangerous for your health. Like, where is the guidance? How do you just get to this point?
I was dying, starving for a mentor, someone to like basically give me the guidance, someone I would listen to, and like the people I felt like I would listen to would just give up on me. Like, and they wouldn't tell me the reasons why. Like, I would just get ghosted. And so,
and you're talking about friends, girlfriends, relationships, everyone, family. So basically everybody neglected you, basically.
Yeah.
They could clearly see what was going on, and people just
they're just like, oh, he's too out of control. Just let him do his thing. And so, and of course, I didn't have that trust for males to be real receptive as a mentor, and I really didn't have trust for women.
So, I have a question though, before we go down, because we're going to talk about a couple of girls here and just situations. At what point are you ignoring the fact though that you have no partake in this? Like, where, because, you did do this to yourself in a way. It gets to a point where, you can't just say, I'm looking for a mentor. You have to know that you feel sick, you're, and clearly, right? So what?
Yeah. Well, it's weird. So I've become a certified master personal trainer, and I'm a body transformation specialist, which that course was much akin to like drug anonymous, narcotics anonymous type scripting and learning, because it teaches about the unhealthy connection of food and how to break it.
Now, how did you get into that? Did you just make a decision one day that, you know what, I'm going to make a change and I'm going to go become somebody who can help myself?
Yeah, I did a lot of praying, and I was just like, God, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Like, that I've lost weight, or I've been losing the weight that I need to lose. Like, I need the vocabulary to be able to explain to doctors what's actually happening with my body. As I was losing the weight and figuring it out for myself, I know what it's like to be completely and utterly, heartbreakingly, just completely alone.
Well, hold on. Now you say that
I don't want anybody to be there.
Yeah. I get that, but let me ask you a question. You say that you know what it was like to be completely alone, right? And it's heartbreaking, and you don't want anybody to ever have to feel that. And I do know that you have a gift, and you're helping people as we speak that are in this same situation, which I commend you for that, for real. But I want to ask you something very important, and this is for the people that you're talking to as well. Was there a point in time where you were actually rebelling against people trying to help you? Was there ever a point where people were trying to help you and you didn't want the help and you just wanted to die?
That could, like that's what I've had to look into and accept, is that I did it all to myself. I can't blame other people for what I did to myself. I can look at specific situations and see how those decisions that I made and the way that I let the actions of others affect me, like I can see how it played out, not make excuses for it, like just say it how it is, how it played out. But yeah, I take full responsibility for getting myself to where I did. I didn't love myself.
Now let's talk about something here that I find very important. Okay. Now we've talked about God, you and I. And I even wrote this down. Now, you mentioned God a few times, okay? You actually wrote me a whole story, which actually made me cry. It's so moving what you were able to do with your life and how you've turned everything around. Now, when it came to faith, because I know you're very close with God now, but initially, was your closeness with God and the faith that you have something that was always there? Or was it a last-ditch effort for you to try and get help?
I always believed in God.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of anger,
Mm-hmm.
which led to a lot of questioning, which led to a lot of searching in places where I didn't need to be searching and making decisions that I didn't need to be making,
Well, I
which
mean,
just kept me further and further from God.
you were growing up with people
And
using Ouija boards and doing all kinds of insanity that's totally demonic. So,
yeah, no,
you were
that's what I feel
exposed to a
like
lot
is
of
that
things.
I feel like I just been under an immense demonic attack basically my whole life.
Now, when you had, and
I,
I wrote this down, you said when you finally turned to God, you said it was a full surrender. Okay.
yeah,
Now, I love that. I wrote it down because you said when I finally turned to God, it was a full surrender. That's
yeah.
just a really powerful statement. What my question is for you and for others is when you did fully surrender, what did that look like? Were you on your knees? Were you crying, pleading, begging, or was it something
Yeah.
internal? And is that also part of the point in your life where you decided to take control over your life again, to take your life back?
Yeah. So basically, I was at that point where, my back was sliding around like buttered up disc, and I was walking, and I decided for the first time to leave the driveway to walk down the road.
Incredible.
And, you know, I didn't, and of course, I'm walking with a walking stick and stuff, but my back goes out and my legs go out from under me, and I'm just sitting there on the ground in the dirt and got myself into a position that I was terrified to get myself into, which is why I didn't leave the driveway for months. And now I'm going to have to call 911 to come pick me up because I can't get the help from my parents because they can't pick me up. I'm too fat.
I mean, this is, Nate, I've never witnessed or spoken with anybody that has the strength of someone with a broken back, a broken neck, that has been through hell and back and managed on top of that to, on their own, lose 313 pounds. That is absolutely insane. Between all of the family betrayals, you hitting rock bottom, it's just an incredible story. Now, we don't have much time, but we do have some. I want to know a couple of things. So, what's one of the lessons that stands out the most to you from this entire experience? What is something that you can tell others that was the most standout lesson, to maybe
Oh,
prevent other people from ending up down this?
well, the most the most important thing that I learned from it was in that moment where I was on the ground, begging God basically just to forgive me for my sins, to like bring me back into his embrace, like, just apologize profusely for my sins and just begged him to give me the strength to go on because I'm still not on pain medicine at this point.
Wow.
And to even attempt to stand up seemed excruciating to me. And I'm just like, God, I need your help. I can't do this alone. Like, and I just felt that embrace come over me. Something tell me, get up. So I got up and it said walk. So I walked. And as I'm walking, I'm just thinking of Jesus, getting whipped and almost beat to death before they even put him on the cross.
Wow.
And then getting outstretched, all his tendons torn and stuff as he's getting nailed into the cross and breathing his final breath, gasping for life, saying, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Like, just thinking about that as I'm going through the worst pain trying to get back home, like, it just told me, no matter what happens to you, no matter how low you are, just keep moving forward, because life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know, you might fall down. You need to get back up. So,
you know, let me tell you, when I read your story, I actually cried. So I understand how you're feeling. I mean, I'd never been through this. This is a powerful story, and there are many people out here hurting. And, you know, America today, we're in a very bad position. You know, I feel like the Food and Drug Administration, you know, the industry of food, the industry of the medical industry, you know, there's a lot of things that are just against people just daily in life. Just every time you walk outside, you know, I make this funny statement all the time when I drive through certain towns or I'm just looking, and it's like at the drop of a beat, you take one turn out of your town, you know, go into your main town, and there's a McDonald's, a 7-Eleven, a Burger King, and a Wendy's, a Taco Bell. I mean, every single thing that you could, you know, any kind of thing that could actually put you down the worst path ever is just right in front of your face every day. It's like being an alcoholic and living, you know, on top of a bar. It's really, it takes.
Well, and that stuff is the only stuff that's open late at night. So anybody that's living a nightlife, they can't eat.
Correct. Correct. So before we wrap this up, and we don't have much time left, I want you to explain to people how you lost the weight. You went through all this stuff, you made a decision, you found God, you got the strength to walk down your driveway and leave the driveway. It's all about baby steps. How did you actually lose? What did it take, and what did you actually do daily to lose 313 pounds? I mean, it's insane.
Basically, I did everything ass backwards of how they recommend doing it from what I've come to learn through my courses and stuff. But essentially, like, you know, they finally put me on pain medicine because I needed to get the weight off to be able to have the MRIs so they could tell what's going on in my back.
Right.
And well, then I get up to 530 pounds after the medicines and stuff they put me on, because I'm retaining water plus just sitting there eating, not doing anything.
Of course.
And so I'm at 530 pounds, and they're like, "Oh, you get approved for surgery. Now you got to lose 5% of the weight, but from 490 pounds." So they wanted me at like 467 before surgery, and I'm at 530.
Wow.
So I had to lose that weight on my own. Fast forward 6 months, I'm at 462.
How did you do that?
But then COVID
How did you
hit.
actually lose the weight? Did you walk every day? Did you stop eating? What did you do? Like people want to know, what does it take? Because imagine this. There are people that are obese right now, sitting home with no guidance, just like you. Nobody around them, absolutely no clue what to do. The internet is trash. What did it take? Did you work out every day?
It was, I had to get up and walk. I, you know, got an old busted exercise bike, rode it on the lowest setting for like 10 minutes at a time, but I could only do like a minute or two before I would have to pause and let the spasms stop, and then, you know, so on. Or I would walk to the end of the driveway and back. And I would do that one time a day. And then I was like, okay, I needed to up this to 2 times a day. And so eventually got to 2 times a day, and then got to 3 times a day, and then got to the point where I could either ride the bike for half an hour at a time or walk, you know, a mile. And it was just a battle of, if I can't go an inch further, I need to do it a second quicker. If I can't ride, you know, a minute longer, I need to up the intensity, you know, 1 click.
Like, so you literally just put the work in.
Yeah, it's you
Literally.
need, yeah, and
It's
a
basics. You
lot of it
stop.
has to do with diet
Yep,
too.
you stopped eating you had to. So you ate
Yeah,
less and you just pushed yourself to the point of exhaustion, slowly
yeah,
pushing more and more and more to get that weight off. There are a lot of people, anybody listening right now, okay, listen, okay? This man did this with a broken back, a broken neck, and a lifetime, a childhood basically, of abuse and a lot of other things. Imagine doing this with all of these, setbacks. If you have to lose the weight, you have to put the work in. Even with all of the stuff that you had going on, you put the work in. Now, I have a question that people are going to want to know. When you look in the mirror, do you ever still see the 530-pound guy?
yeah. I mean, as I said, I have the ugly duckling syndrome, whatever. Like they say, people that go through major body transformation, that you'll always have some sort of body dysmorphia, just because people tell me I look better than I think I look.
Well,
So
you look
I'll
great.
take it, but I don't necessarily 100% believe it. But that's just a curse that I'm not gonna pass on to my children if I'm lucky enough to have them.
You will
But
be. You will
something I
be.
gotta deal with.
You're an amazing person. This has been absolutely phenomenal. Your story is phenomenal. We're going to get deeper into it. We're going to talk again. I know we are. And I already know what's next for you. Your plans are to help other people to get out here, get your message out here, and give people the guidance and the help that you didn't have through a journey like this. I admire you as a human being. I honestly admire you for what you've done, what you've been through. I think your story is something that needs to be heard. I cannot thank you enough for allowing me to be a part of you telling your story. And we're going to take some questions now after this. We're going live, and we're going to get some questions from people in the chat. And I'm sure they're going to ask you a lot of stuff on how you lost that weight. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, we will see you guys live in the chat. Nate, thank you so much. It was an actual honor to speak with you. And we'll see everybody in the chat. All right, coming up in just a few seconds. Thanks, guys. Nate the Great. Follow him. His links are all below. Go follow yourself some Nate the Great. When you need some inspiration, come listen to this. It's never as bad as it could be. All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.